Hi everyone, I'm Angelina and this is Blueprint DIY, where we remake our clothes to be just as unique as us. A lot of you have been saying that you get all inspired to upcycle, you go thrift a piece or you already have it in your closet, you have an idea but you just can't go through with the upcycle because you're too afraid you're gonna mess up. I've definitely been there. I still feel that way sometimes. So I'm gonna share with you guys my simple tips and tricks on how to get over your fears of upcycling and get those projects done. So stay tuned. But first, I have a few really exciting announcements. Okay. First up, Blueprint DIY finally has a Facebook group, so I get to see you guys upcycle. So I put it out there on Instagram and Facebook, and a bunch of you guys are already on there sharing your upcycle. So definitely check the description box for the link to go over there and request to join, and I'll add you and we can share our upcycles, get help when we get stuck, show the things that inspire us, and just have a great old upcycling time. Next, my live game show, America's Next Top Upcycler, is finally ready to go. The Android app is up, so everybody who couldn't get the app, the Android app is up. So check the video link description for more information. If you want to be a interactive viewer or a contestant, definitely check that, and I'm super excited. And lastly, you guys requested it and it's finally here. Next week I am doing a live full tutorial start to finish, and guess what the project is? If you watch my runway upcycle inspiration video, you know what these are, you know what they will be. If you didn't, definitely watch that video, and I'll see you guys next week for the live video. Okay, so let's get into this video, Inspired But Afraid. I originally did this for my Team Renegade members only club. If you're interested in all the details for that, click the join button down below and it'll give you all the details. But this was just too important not to put out there for everybody, so I hope you guys enjoy. My question for today is, why are we so afraid of an inanimate object like cloth, that we would bottle up our inspiration and cower before it? You know, it's the question that I get most often. Quote from the live stream on Saturday, and I knew I was going to get that question, or that comment, that I buy things to upcycle, then I get nervous when it's time to begin. And it was seconded by another viewer. So I wanted to talk about this because it just seems to affect so many people, and it affects me. Like, people think that because I've done so many projects that it doesn't affect me. Like, my whole channel is a experiment, or not experiment, but a leap of my own faith, you know, stepping out and just, you know, in spite of my fear, stepping out and doing these things that I'm very afraid to do. But the thing is, like, why we're so afraid of cloth? Like, it's just cloth. But I think that it's more than the cloth. We're actually afraid to fail. And the thing about it is that it doesn't help that when we were growing up, our parents were like, you know, don't mess up your clothes. You know, you're a little kid scooting across the floor. Don't mess up your clothes. Don't get those clothes dirty. Don't put a hole in those pants. You know, especially as girls, you know, you're supposed to stay nice and prim and proper. And when we get ready to take scissors to a piece of cloth or a piece of actual clothing, like, I think if we had like just fabric, we would be way more willing to cut that than we would an actual piece of clothing. I think it just strikes fear, you know, a lot because of, you know, us wanting to stay prim and proper as girls. And that's what we were taught. But it also, a big part of it has to do with a fear of failing. So, today we're going to talk about that, you know, it's not just the cloth. It's that we're afraid to fail. So I have 3 tips that I'm going to give that will help us to get to the next step, as far as upcycling and life in general. So number 1, and I said it in our live stream on Saturday, we're going to start small. We're going to do the projects that we feel comfortable doing, and we're going to get those out of the way first. And the thing I want everyone to remember is that starting small matters, because if you, like, some people are like, well, you know, I know how to do that. But we want to go ahead and do those things because it matters. I think about my own projects, and how when I first started, it took courage to do those projects, but one project led to another project a little bit bigger, and that project led to another project a little bit bigger. And so it matters to do the project that you think is simple and silly. And I think that, we want to do big things, but we haven't started with the small things. Do the small things, they matter. And just on a personal note, these small projects that I do right now, that we may think of them like, it's just, why should I worry about my fears as far as cutting some clothes? But when my husband passed away, there were a lot of projects. Around that time, a lot of things started breaking. Like the AC in the truck didn't work, and I live in Houston, and it gets really hot in the summertime. You need AC in your car. My dryer broke, my microwave broke, and dryer and the microwave both broke while he was still in the hospital. And these are things that I would have normally relied on him for. And so my courage, the courage that I had gained in doing these little projects, these little things as far as like redesigning clothes, aided me when it came to that. I fixed all three of those things by myself, and I'm very proud of myself, but I don't think I would have had the courage to do them if I hadn't started on some simple things, like clothes. So I say start small, because you don't know what the future holds. You, good or bad, you don't know what the future holds. You don't know this inspiration that you're bottling up. You don't know what it's for. You don't know where it'll take you. So start someplace, just start, because one thing will lead to another thing, and will lead to another thing, and will lead to another thing. The next thing I want us to remember is to keep things in perspective. Like I said before, this may be a small thing, but it will lead, I believe, it will lead to other things. For me, inspiration is not something that it doesn't originate from me. So if I'm getting inspiration for a piece, and we may think, it's simple, it's small. But yes, work on that simple or small thing, because you don't know where it's going to lead. These things, and then also, as you keep it in perspective, it's just a piece of cloth. It's just clothing. Be willing to cut it up. Be willing to fail. Be willing to mess it up. You don't know, whether that mess up is going to actually turn out to be something amazing. And that's actually my third point, is that failure is relative. It's very relative. There have been projects that I've worked on that I felt like I failed, but when people saw the project, everybody raved about it. And I was just like, I thought that was a complete failure. And there have been other things, I kid you not, that I have not posted because I'm like, that I don't like it, that's silly. And then like the next season, I'll either see it on a runway or I'll see it on a celebrity. And I'm just like I could have been the first one to put that out there. And not that like the world would have noticed, but I would have had the gratification, like, I did that last year, but when you doubt yourself, when you think everything that you do is a failure, you never give yourself the opportunity to succeed. So I think probably about half the projects that I do, even the ones that I put on YouTube, I think to myself like, this might not be so good. And even the things that may not be so good, because it's relative, at least one person be like, oh, that was my favorite one. And I'm like, really? Of course I don't say that out loud, but I just say thank you. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so what you consider a failure is somebody else's success. So you don't want to take that away from the world, because as we are inspired, we have to channel those things and, put them out into the world. They're for a purpose. So that is
my advice to anyone who is inspired to do an upcycle, but they are afraid, be afraid and do it anyway. You know, we wait for fear to go away in order for us to do anything. And the fact is that fear is human. We're going to be afraid, but be afraid and do it anyway. Tell your fear, so what? So what? Yes, I'm afraid to upcycle. I'm afraid to do whatever, I'm inspired to do, whatever is in my heart to do. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to step out and I'm going to do it anyway. And that would be my advice for anybody that's afraid to start upcycling. Do it anyway. Cut it, rip it, paint it, whatever you are inspired to do, do it. And do it to completion. Don't just start it and say, oh, it's not turning out good. Do it to completion. If you think that halfway through it's going awry, reevaluate, think of something else, but do it to completion. And that's the only way you're going to get those things out. I told you guys in my 6-year anniversary video that when I first started this channel, before I started this channel, I was inspired to do this channel, but I was suppressing it. Like I was too scared to do it. And it was making me physically sick. And so I just think that if we bottle up inspiration, and even now, if I let my projects pile up, I feel, I don't know, there's something that I just feel inside me. It's just like everything is suppressed. And it's not until I let the creativity and inspiration out by doing the projects one by one. I just take one. I get overwhelmed easy, so I can't think about all the projects at once. But once I just take one project, it's like a weight is lifted. So we can't let those projects pile up, and they do, but just take one at a time as you have time and do those projects so that they don't pile up.
So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys feel charged up and ready to go get those projects done that you've been wanting to do. Let me know in the description box one project that you were afraid to do but you are now going to do, no matter whether you mess up or not. And definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.